There's so much I want to say to y'all, and there's no way I can. The scripture God always has shown me is that I'm to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Proverbs 31:8. A lot of you who are here didn't know Chrissie before she was in the hospital, and that's the part I want to remember, because when she was in the hospital, she was not that joyful Chrissie that everybody else knows. She hated hospitals, and she would tell everybody at the hospital, no boo-boos, and she would tell everybody, Mama, no leave me, and Mama never left her. But I want y'all to know Chrissie's story of who she was before she went into that hospital. I have a whole stack of papers here, so I'm going to try to get through this and help you to know the Chrissie that we knew. Some of this is in her obituary, but you know, she was born in Serbia, October 8th of 2005, and when she was born, her birth family discovered that she had several severe heart defects, and they would not be able to fix her heart in Serbia. So her family had to leave her at the hospital, and knowing that there was nothing they could do, but they didn't expect her to survive. And God did it, because God knew she was going to be our family member. And so he kept her alive, and it's a miracle that she lived past 2 days after birth, because with the heart defect that she had, she shouldn't have survived more than 2 days. So Chrissie fought in that hospital by herself as an orphan for 11 months. After 11 months, she was stabilized enough to be released, but she was still an orphan. So she was sent to an orphanage in Subotica, Serbia, and the orphanage is called Kolevka, which means the cradle. Chrissie waited there for 3 years for a family to come and get her. She was not about to die an orphan. So God worked through a lady in Serbia whose husband worked at the U.S. Embassy. And she went and visited the orphanage of Kolevka, not knowing that she was going to find Chrissie, but Chrissie knew she was there to find her. So this lady, her name is Erin, and I had never met her. Did not really even know the whole story until I was in the hospital with Chrissie, and I received an email from Erin, who had found our blog and knew Chrissie's photo and knew we were the family who had gone to get her. And she emailed me and says, "Hi Lorraine, I'm so glad to know where little Chrissie is and to be able to read your blog to hear about all that is going on in her life and the life of your family. Our family moved to Belgrade in March of 2009. My husband is with the U.S. Embassy here. And because I have a child with a disability and am actively involved in disability advocacy work in the States, I immediately got involved with several disability-related organizations over here. One of the first things I did with one of my Serbian colleagues was to visit Kolevka last April. I met Chrissie, who was Barbara at the time, and she stole my heart. I wanted to take all 200 kids home with me, but her story particularly haunted me, as I felt certain that we could find a surgeon in the States to correct her heart problem. I'll never forget watching Barbara wave goodbye to my friend Dragana and me as we left that institution. We were getting in the car in the parking lot, and she was out on one of the balconies with one of her caretakers. If I recall correctly, she was shouting goodbye to us as well. So incredibly sweet. In any event, I immediately contacted a pediatric neurosurgeon I knew at Vanderbilt Children's in Nashville and asked if he would review her records if I could get them. That proved to be more challenging than I had anticipated, and given subsequent events, I never got the records. In the course of letting friends and family back home know about Kolevka and Barbara, one friend from Dallas and her husband expressed interest in adopting her. They have 2 adoptive sons, one who has Down syndrome, who's our godson. Long story short, Carrie, my friend in Dallas, knew Shelley, who's with Reese's Rainbow, through her prior adoption experiences and emailed her to see if this was a situation that they might be able to help facilitate. And Shelley said that there was already a family working on adopting her. That family fell through, as did several subsequent families. Ultimately, our friends in Dallas decided that they were not being called to adopt Barbara, but they had friends from their church who were interested. By the time we emailed Shelley to let her know about this other family, she said that a new family, I'm guessing this is your family, was pursuing the adoption. I followed up with Shelley several times to see how things were going and knew that you all had been over here in the fall to get Chrissie. In any event, My friend Ann, who was a mighty prayer warrior, kept asking me to check to see if the little girl we knew as Barbara had her surgery, and I kept forgetting to email Shelley. On Saturday, Ann found her blog and sent it to me, and voila, here we are. I know that you are also worried about Chrissy, but also trusting that God's will be done in her and through her. I am praying for her full recovery and want to thank you and your husband and children for taking this precious child of God into your home and for confronting these difficult and challenging medical issues. I would absolutely love to come to Texas when we return from Serbia and meet your wonderful family and see your precious daughter, Chrissy. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for your family. Love and blessings, Aaron Richardson. So Aaron's the one who got the ball rolling, who God used as the instrument to get Chrissy into our lives. And she prayed for Chrissy, and she worked hard to find her a family. The families that she was able to get interested all backed out. Bruce's Rainbow Families committed and then backed out. I remember my sister when I said we were going to adopt this little girl, and everybody was a little bit freaked out at how sick she was and what her condition was, that we were going to do this. My sister said, "Why do you think those other families backed out?" And I said, "I asked God that," and God said, "Because she's yours." So it didn't matter why anybody else backed out. She was our child, and we were to go get her, no matter what the outcome was. I'm going to skip the part here, just about how God brought her into her life. One thing we needed to do to get her home was to find a medical escort and line up care for her. We had to prove to the country of Serbia that we could provide care for her here and that we would get her home safely. And I didn't know how we were going to do that. So I just prayed for God to lead someone into our lives who would help us in that. And through that prayer, God led Dr. Mary Porrish to us, and she's here today. She contacted me and said that she would do whatever she could to help save Chrissy's life. And she knew that it was going to be hard because being a cardiologist and knowing the condition, which actually wasn't even correct, the condition that we'd been told she had was not exactly correct. We didn't ever have her medical records. God made sure we didn't get those. If we'd gotten her medical records, we probably would have said no. But the diagnoses that they had given, Dr. Porrish said, "I will do what I can." And Dr. Porrish has prayed for this child from the time that she contacted me and said she would help. I never contacted Dr. Porrish, she contacted me. So that was an answer to prayer. And it took us just about a month and a half to get all of our paperwork together to go get Chrissy from the time we found out about her. But the country of Serbia was on vacation for the summer, so they could not process her adoption during the summer. And when they came back, we were invited to go over there to get her in October. And that put us there in time for Chrissy's 4th birthday. So she didn't have to celebrate her 4th birthday as an orphan. We loved Chrissy before we ever got her. And when we got there, they put her into my lap, and she took my face in her hands and stared into my eyes and said, "I love you, Mom." From the time they set her in my lap. She said it in Serbian. And then she looked at her daddy and she said, "Daddy, I like chocolate." In Serbian, we had to have a translator tell us what she said. As Parker said earlier, she always knew how to get what she wanted. So, let me see where we are here. She had instantly stolen our hearts. She had the biggest, brownest, most sparkliest eyes of any child I have ever seen. And she would stare into our eyes until we were the ones to look away. She had no problem with bonding and attachment. She knew we were her mommy and her daddy from the moment we walked through those doors. We spent 2 weeks in Serbia bonding with her and getting to know her country and praying that God would get us home quickly so that we could get her to Dr. Porrish to assess the situation. On October 14th of 2009, she became officially our daughter in Serbia. She was legally adopted there. And Chrissy was so excited to be able to come home to Texas. She crawled into the suitcase and said, "Let's go."